It's important when talking about Tantra to mention Tantra's position on morality. Now, one reason is because in South Asia, especially tantrics, the practitioners of Tantra, have been um, accused of promoting immorality. And this um, derives from certain aspects of one school of tantric ritual called kulachara. Um, and this ritual could include sex with a partner who's not your marriage partner, um, and the ingestion of intoxicants such as cannabis and alcohol. And these things are, within South Asian culture, Hindu culture specifically, considered very bad. You know, the drinking of wine is, in some Hindu law books, considered one of the five great sins, the Pancha Mahapatakas. So, but the use of these in Tantra is actually quite deliberate, that in choosing actions and substances that are expressly forbidden in conventional morality, tantrics of the heroic type aim to transcend ordinary morality and to see the one divine being in all things. Now, if you don't consider sex with strangers or the ingestion of intoxicants as immoral, then in a way the point of the ritual is lost on you. You're not really ready for the ritual unless you see these things as problematic somehow. It's the very problem of them that through the ritual process gets resolved into another level, a transcendental level of understanding, awareness. If you're just doing these things madly and delightedly without any moral qualm, then perhaps you're not really ready for tantric ritual, sadly. But tantric morality is, and there is such a thing, is based almost entirely on yogic morality. And there's a list of yamas and niyamas, that is, practices, moral practices that are prescribed for yogis, practitioners of yoga. But these can be distilled down into two fundamental principles. And in the Tantras, ahimsa, or non-injury, is given the supreme position. Ahimsa paramo dharma. It says, and that means that non-injury is the supreme spiritual practice. Next to that, very close, is truthfulness. Now, truthfulness should be practiced except where it would violate the first principle of non-injury. So you're not supposed to go around just saying cruel things that are true. One should avoid hurting people's feelings as much as possible. My guru, Swami Mahavirananda, once used to say that if, for instance, a devotee asked how do you like my hat, he might reply, it's very interesting, as opposed to, it's horrendous, which would have been a completely true statement. But so non-injury, but non-injury is a tough one. It's really a profound and deep practice, because the more sensitive, the more attuned you become to yourself and to others, the finer your understanding of what constitutes injury becomes. And your desire to avoid injuring others, even in subtle ways, increases. This issue came up for me in the context of so-called casual sex. There was a time when I felt that I was not in a place that I wanted a boyfriend, but I did feel urged to go out and meet people for some kind of intimate encounters. I met a young man, and who, as I learned, didn't have a whole lot of emotional sexual experience. He wasn't a virgin, but he was very young, inexperienced. And I told him at the time we met that I could not be his boyfriend, that I would not be his boyfriend, but if he wanted to come home with me, if he wanted to have some fun together, I was up for that. So that's what we did. And then over the course of the next 3 weeks, we saw each other now and then, and had many enjoyable and frankly loving encounters. And it was then I began to realize that this young man had not listened to my words when I said I could not be his boyfriend. And I can't blame him, because my actions, treating him with love and respect, were the actions of a boyfriend, of a lover. And so just telling him I could not be his boyfriend was inadequate when my own actions denied that. So when I realized he was becoming very attached to me and treating me like a boyfriend, and that our relationship was kind of a boyfriend relationship, I withdrew from him, and I told him I'm not going to continue this, because I can see you haven't taken it in the way that I intended. And this broke his heart, and he had a kind of an emotional breakdown for a while, and that was extremely troubling and painful for me. So you could say, well, he's an adult. He wasn't a child. He was in his late 20s, and adults are responsible for their own behavior. He made a choice. But my own feeling was, no, I also made a choice. And that just as if a small child is going to run in the street, an older person would see that and want to stop them, to save them. So also, if you see that somebody younger or less experienced than you is heading in a dangerous direction, that you understand to be dangerous even if they don't, then it becomes your choice to help them or not. So that's one example of how non-injury can be applied. I personally don't think there is such a thing as casual sex, in the sense that sex can never be entirely casual, because of the profound sharing that happens in sexual encounters, the sharing of energies, of certainly of microbes and other things. At various levels, there's a profound sharing. And to call that casual is somehow to shut oneself off from the intimacy